access to finance and strengthening intellectual property, combining the global strength to rethink and revitalize innovation that will help drive sustained cross-sectoral collaboration and thereby result in an all-inclusive economic, social and environmental growth. This would require strategic vision and intelligence in the form of innovation roadmaps for critical sectors so that the nations pursue science, technology and innovation policies for greater impact. We have very eminent speakers for this session as well. So I request everyone to kindly settle down so that we can have this session, the important inputs of it, and then proceed for the lunch after this session gets over. I request Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan, Chairman, Exilor Ventures Private Limited, to step on the dais, please. Mr. Baba Kalyani, Chairman and Managing Director, Bharat Forge Limited. Mr. Alexei Bondaruk, Deputy Head, Department for External Economic and International Relations, City of Moscow. Mr. Jayant Patil, Whole-Time Director, Larsen & Toubro Limited. Professor Soumitra Datta, Dean, SED Business School, University of Oxford. Mr. Sandeep Patel, Managing Director, IBM India in South Asia. Mr. Harsh Pati Singhania, Vice Chairman and Managing Director, JK Paper Limited. Mr. Piruz Kambhata, Chairman, Rasna Private Limited. Ms. Lorena Rivera Leon, Co-Editor, the Global Innovation Index, GII, World Intellectual Property Organization. She will join virtually. And Mr. Rohan Ganapati, Founder and Director, Bellatrix Aerospace. It is indeed a pleasure to have you all over here. And now directly would request Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan, Chairman, Exilor Ventures Private Limited, to put his remarks and take over. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. I'm hoping that hungry people are good listeners, hopefully. Our task force is focused on technology, innovation, and R&D. I don't need to explain about why technology is important. In many of the challenges that are facing the world, climate change, food security, cyber security, sustainability, technology will play an important role in finding solutions. The focus of our task force is going to be how global collaboration can accelerate the development of technology, the scaling up of these technologies, adoption of these technologies, and how can we look at global collaboration in R&D. I've given instructions to the panelists to focus on one or two points that they would like to submit for the task force for consideration. And each of the speakers is given 4 minutes exactly to speak, and I'll try and control the time that they take in order to do this. Each of the speakers is going to talk about one technology or one area that they believe will have significant impact if G20 puts their weight behind that in inclusive development of the world. That means 8 billion people. And more importantly, what is the model that we need to use in order to develop that technology to create impact? So without much further ado, I'm going to request my co-chair for this panel, Mr. Baba Kalyani, to make his opening remarks, 4 minutes, and they will all be here so that we can even cut down the time taken to walk across and speak. So you can make your comments.
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's been a late morning, so I will be as crisp and short as our chair, Chris Gopalkrishnan, just said. You know, I think many of you have probably heard the theme from Davos this year, which just ended 2 days ago, and maybe some of you attended that. But the theme this year was cooperation in a fragmented world. And both the casual conversations and the official presentations, there was a clear agreement that the challenges addressed in Davos will require unprecedented levels of cooperation between governments, research institutions, NGOs, and many other entities in the society. The thought leaders not only acknowledged the importance of cooperation in a very abstract sense, but pointed specifically to increased cooperation between government and business as essential to solving a range of economic, energy, and food crises. I'll come to the topic, one topic that I'd like to talk about based on this, and that is circular economy and its importance to a very large number of people, not only in India, but in many other parts of the world, Africa, Southeast Asia, the Americas, everywhere. And this is, as Chris said, rethinking and revitalizing innovation to drive inclusive impact. As some of the previous speakers in the morning have articulated some very pertinent problems that the world societies are engulfed with, climate change and its impact across geographies, green technologies, wide dissemination of sustainable technologies at scale and at competitive economic costs. Similarly, the pandemic has also thrown open vulnerabilities of the global world order. India has done extremely well in putting solutions in place. I won't repeat them. The minister talked about it this morning. Large sections of the world are staring at an impending water, food, and nutrition crisis. While this is acknowledged, there is need for more collaborative and inclusive approach. There is a need to promote the circular economy and distributed economic models to solve this problem. Now let me give you some small examples. India has roughly about 600,000 villages, which have, in terms of people living in them, close to half of India's population, which is about 700 million people. Now these villages, if they move to circular economy, which was the old style of working in India, if you went back to India 2,000 years ago, everybody had a circular economy. And if you went back to that circular economy using modern technology, using digital information, and using some amount of technological research, the saving to this planet in terms of CO2 generation, in terms of net zero carbon, and disseminating this information to other parts of the world will create a benefit for something like 2 to 3 billion people. And therefore, it becomes extremely important to look at it. Circular economy is not only important industrially. You know, we also run a steel plant, and I just want to tell you, we are the first steel plant in India that is producing green steel, by the way, much before everybody else. So, and all this is done by using circular economy. So circular economy has multiple advantages in terms of what it can do and how much it can impact. Now, how do we want to achieve this? Often it is observed that several innovations in the area of circular economy and manufacturing world are created by small entrepreneurs, MSMEs, SMEs, small technocrats, startups. But most of it is lost in what is known as the valley of death, which is between the TRL level 3 to TRL level 7. Borrowing from models of other institutions around the world that do work in research, such as the Catapult Centers in the UK or the National Innovation Centers in the US, the G20 and B20 can come together, devise a virtual digital laboratory framework that facilitates innovation and commercialization at global scales at the right price points. And this is the kind of cooperation that I would suggest, suggestion number one. Second, as we accelerate adoption of digital technologies in all walks of life, we should find ways to deploy innovative frameworks as virtual digital laboratories that seamlessly connect government, academia, technical institutions, and business. With this, I will stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Baba. Exactly 4 minutes for that. Thank you. Good leadership to rest of the speakers. Now, let me request Mr. Alexei Bondarek to make his opening remarks.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind invitation to participate in the event. I would like to express a couple of words about how it's going on in Moscow, the capital of Russia. In this field, well, I strongly believe that this event will become a significant milestone in the development of our international relations. And to start with, well, Moscow is a very modern and very technological city, and Moscow is becoming more and more convenient for its inhabitants. In Moscow, Moscow city government is actually the leading demander and the leading implementer of modern initiatives and all innovations, innovation technologies. And actually, we try to do it on a basis of so-called responsible administration. Well, actually, we call it. And I would like to present a couple of examples of how it's going on in Moscow. First of all, I would like to say that we started implementing the intelligent transport system, which we created, well, a couple of years ago. And the situational center of transport in Moscow actually operates 24 hours per day, 7 days per week. And we have more than 40 crews of the road patrol in the center of traffic management in the government of Moscow. And actually more than 4,000 TV cameras and 4,000 video recording and photo recording cameras, 40,000 traffic lights. All this is connected into the intelligent transport system of Moscow. And according to a study by McKinsey & Company, Moscow ranks first in terms of public transport efficiency. In 10 years, we have built more than 80 metro underground stations of our famous Moscow Underground, and more than 90% of Moscow public transport fleet is renovated, and actually 95% of Moscow transport fleet is green, mostly electric. And the city became much closer to millions of people, and our residents spent actually 30 minutes less to get to the center of the city and return back than maybe several years ago. We continue to implement a renovated program to improve the quality of housing and living conditions of Muscovites, building modern high-tech houses. And the program is funded by the city budget, and it is, well, very convenient for the citizens. We built more than 6 million square meters for past 3 years in Moscow. We had achieved significant results over the past several years in our educational system, and I should say that it's impossible to imagine a modern school without advanced digital technologies. Important step in this field was made by creating the Moscow Electronic School Platform, which combines not only educational programs, but also a unique line of services, as well as a cloud solution for managing of educational institutions of Moscow City. Since, well, actually, since 2015, Moscow has been implementing the City Healthcare Development Program. And I am very proud to announce that in this year, we are going to start our new standards for providing the emergency medical care. So, mentioning all these steps of Moscow city government, I should say that the main goal for us was to provide our citizens the free access for all the services based on implementing modern technologies. And I think that we should all think about this, how, what steps can we do to let as more people as we can to have a free access to these goods. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexei. Again, let me just repeat this. We are requesting everybody to propose an idea that then we will consolidate, maybe vote on some of these and take it forward as part of G20 process. Next, let me now request Mr. Jayant Patil, Whole-Time Director, L&T Limited.
Good afternoon to all the dignitaries on the dais as well as present here in the hall. We heard the minister speak in the morning of aspirations of 140 crore people in India and of course 700 crore people across the world. There are areas when we keep talking of aspirations of people in terms of basics of infrastructure, because whole lot of developing world we see is hungry for infrastructure, and that hunger necessitates that things have to be done faster, better, rather yesterday than getting them ready tomorrow. Now, these are domains where there's enormous amount of work that India has done in trying to build infrastructure extremely fast. And the basic lever in infra has been use of those digital technologies. Confluence of technologies right across domains being brought and put together have created huge amount of, I would say, this confluence created that kind of a speed and the kind of scalability which is needed. Imagine someone trying to look at individually technologies like Industry 4.0, the IIoT, the AI/ML, the video analytics, things like geotech, things like 3D printing, all of it being put together to sort of make it into a kind of a solution on a platform which essentially provides, and then you can connect your existing individual machines to this kind of a platform and draw truly efficiencies out of what you can do in infra building. Examples of some of these that I can talk about, imagine a building of the floor area of this hall, 7-storied building, 45 days. And that's something that exists in India. Imagine residential towers of 12 stories built in 96 days. Obviously, it doesn't happen in 45 and 96 days. It happens because you're moving the work into a factory, and the factory now, because of the scale, Industry 4.0 being in manufacturing, now leverages what can actually happen on the field, and work happens that kind of pace. Now, infrastructure as a result obviously starts getting leveraged in a very, very big way. We see this, an amazing example. Some of you, I believe, are going to be going on a sightseeing. You are in Gujarat. If you go to the Statue of Unity, you will find each piece, tens of thousands of pieces on this statue are individual items, 3D manufactured. And from 3D manufacturing, you cannot put one piece, one from somewhere else, and the sequence is completely driven by digital technologies at the back. Creating some of this as solutions, we believe, is not only going to be proliferating it across India. At the same time, this is something which will be an amazing area to collaborate, bringing the space technology as a part of doing it. Imagine a water project, hundreds of thousands of acres being irrigated, but cannot be irrigated as per the wish of the farmer, but as per the wish of the analytics, which a system drives it to say, this is the right time to irrigate, and the water starts getting flown. Now, this is something which is happening. It is happening right in this country. The many states where these kind of programs and projects are today taking place, need is how do we collaborate, how do we take it, we address right from hunger to health to the need of infrastructure that the whole world is looking for. And that's essentially where we believe collaboration will make a big difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jayant. Again, thank you for sticking to the time. Now let me request Professor Soumitra Datta to make his remarks.
Thank you very much, Chris and Baba. And A very good afternoon to all of you. We have heard many interesting presentations from experts and political leaders, and a few facts are very clear. We are living in times of many crises, yet unprecedented opportunities. A lot of the solutions that we seek for the crises will have to come from technology and innovation. And we do know that government cannot solve all these challenges alone. Businesses will have to play a very key role. What I want to do is focus on another important partner in the solution, which is the universities. Because universities have to be the sources of talent and the sources of research innovation in many cases in all countries around the world. I have spent about 30 years of my life as an academic in institutions in America, in Europe, and also in Asia. And based on my experience, what I do find is that universities have made progress, no question about it. Things have improved in terms of research, in terms of trying to support entrepreneurship, support innovation in various kinds. But I do believe there's a lot more that can be done. Chris asked for a specific idea. Let me just suggest an idea that perhaps could be interesting based on my own experiences. I do think today, if I look at entrepreneurship innovation, there's a need for more inspiration. I honestly do not think capital is the constraint. I think inspiration is the most important issue. If students are inspired, if faculty are inspired, they do great things. The question really is, how are you inspired? The most common source of inspiration is another individual, another fellow colleague, another student, another professor who has done something great. So can we, in fact, try to build a global platform across universities that connect entrepreneurs, faculty members together with other relevant industry leaders? And a lot of this can be done quite simply and quite easily. In India, for example, we have a very successful example of the Atal Innovation Labs, which are innovation clusters in various universities. They're very good, but there's a need to connect Indian entrepreneurs in universities with their peer entrepreneurs in universities in America and Europe and Africa and other parts of the world. And there's a lot of valuable learning that happens across these connections. If you think of, for example, entrepreneurs are successful professionals who build companies successfully, they would benefit a lot from also interacting with students and with faculty across the world in different universities. Today, it is extremely difficult, if not impossible, for me, for example, sitting in the UK, to find a great entrepreneur in a certain area in Africa. If there was somehow some kind of a way to connect people together, that'd be wonderful. The same logic applies to professors, because professors are very important participants in this process. So the question really out here is, can we, together under the auspices of G20, the B20 proposed a global network of universities that connect the right talent individual across them, and perhaps even think of more interesting configurations, like perhaps creating clusters of excellence. If, for example, IISc in Bangalore is a center of excellence in innovation, entrepreneurship, and brain research, may be connected to other interesting clusters of similar research in other areas. So I think there's a lot to be done out here, but I would suggest that having more of this connection in a structured way across the world would be a benefit to everyone across the world, across universities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Soumitra. Actually, you are ahead of your allotted time, so that's very nice. Thank you very much. Can I now request Mr. Sandeep Patel to make his opening remarks? Sandeep, 4 minutes.
Great, thank you. And I'll just start with the idea specifically. I think there is an immediate need for the G20 nations to collaborate and establish a blueprint for green data centers going forward. I think every country is moving towards establishment of data centers, and let me just set the context of why this is important. I think as businesses continue to digitize, the move towards moving more and more workloads to the cloud will continue, which will require people to establish data centers. There are a lot of businesses, even in India, that are moving into large-scale data centers. The reason why this is important to think about green data centers is all of these data centers consume a significant amount of energy, electricity to run, number one. Number two, they also release a lot of CO2 into the atmosphere, which creates sustainability issues going forward. Now, there are several examples, and a lot of people are trying to develop innovative ways of reducing the energy consumption, etc. I think recently there was some attempt to say, let's build data centers within, within the water in some respects to manage this. But there are technologies today that are available that can be brought together to create a very sustained strategy for green data centers. And this basically comprises of four key themes. One, which is looking at alternative sources of energy, such as solar. This, I'm just giving you some examples of this, but moving to solar energy could, reduce significant amounts of CO2e that's released into the atmosphere. The second component is looking at data center optimization, where through really looking at how you look at the consumption of data centers and the compute power that's required. Just a recent example is reduction of data center estate by about 15% of a global organization that was possible. But it's not just reducing the data center estate. This resulted in about a significant amount, about 5% of annual IT cost savings, and also reduced 8,000 tons of CO2 savings per annum that was getting released. The third strategy is looking at application carbon reduction, which is, there are several tools. We've done that. There are several organizations that are building tools that actually look at how to reduce carbon release and looking at better optimization of how applications are built and how they are optimized in terms of consumption. This again could reduce significant savings in terms of carbon emissions and reduction. And the last is looking at a decarbonization strategy overall, which could be across IT applications, it could be across IT operations. All of these require a fair bit of automation. It requires really looking at migrations to newer technologies and so on. But this collectively could reduce almost 68%, and I'm just giving you some examples of how this can be undertaken. So there are multiple strategies today through the correct use of technology, building a blueprint that can be leveraged and shared across these nations to create these green data centers. As data centers and the need for data centers proliferate, I think would be a very noble undertaking by this group. So Chris, with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Sandeep. Next, let me request Harsh Singhania to make his opening remarks.
Thank you, Chris. And pleasure to be here with this esteemed group of co-panelists. I think much has been said since the morning, and including this session, about the needs. And one of the things is that there is a great convergence on some of the basic themes. So the co-chair Baba Kalyani talked about circular economy. But I think there is, in that context, a huge amount that needs to be done in the development of biomaterials and using bioenergy. Now, this is not new. This is being done. But I think this is being done in pockets across the world. And there are several common things like municipal waste. We have agri-waste. We have a whole lot of other things. I'll give you an example. We are one of the businesses that our group is in the pulp and paper business. And we are trying to use cellulosic chemistry to see how we can use lignin to make materials, biomaterials, how we can use the calorific values to create bioenergy. So there are many, many examples. We are talking in terms of using aqueous, so water-based coatings, instead of using plastic-based or polymer-based coatings. Now, these are things that are happening in different areas. So, Chris, if there can be a platform by which these kinds of technologies can be put together and people can collaboratively work across the world, G20 countries, to really achieve the ends, I think there will be a much accelerated progress in this. This is what the minister spoke about in the morning, and part of the theme is in terms of acceleration. So that is one idea I want to leave the group here with. The other one is I'm also involved with the International Chamber of Commerce Paris. In fact, I serve as a vice chair. One of the tools that ICC has developed is called SME 360X, which is really a sustainability tool. And essentially, it helps companies across the value chain, particularly SMEs, that's why SME 360X, to understand their carbon footprint and find ways to mitigate them or how to deal with it. Now, this is a platform that ICC Paris has, and Chris, maybe we can work around this to create it on a much larger scale, where, one of the big challenges is for small and medium enterprises. Large enterprises are able to find their way through a whole lot of challenges, issues, and find solutions, but it's the smaller enterprises which have difficulty. And if we really want to have an inclusive growth, then they need to be part of the system. So that is another thought which I'd like to leave. And just for a moment to repeat the point that was being made by panelists as well, much greater collaboration on a global level, cross-border level, between industry, academia, and some of the policymakers to make an enabling environment for R&D and, and innovation to make this happen. So I just want to stop here. We can have many more ideas as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you, Harsh, again, being ahead of time. Next, Piruz Kambata. Piruz, of course, is a host also.
Thank you. I hope I'm audible. Yeah, I think I am. Thanks, Rish. And I will also be short. I think our Prime Minister's vision for G20 is one Earth, one family, and one future. And I think B20 has to take from it. And I have been asked many questions by many interviewers that what you think B20 should achieve. And what I have said is one simple thing we can all achieve as business people. How we can partner with the government and catalyze change in various sectors to ensure that the difference between the haves and have-nots in the world get reduced. This is my personal primary focus. So be it the digital economy, climate change, innovation, whatever we do, we as industry today have to really work hard to make this difference lesser, and that is what has come out of Davos also with all the reports. So having said that, in technology, what we can do, let me give two examples which we ourselves are doing as a company. That, for example, we have created the world's first zero chemicals organic powder concentrate. Now, you say, "Uska kya hai?" But there's a lot of technology which goes behind it. And there the main challenge is to work with the farmer, because here we are talking of a farmer who has used chemicals and pesticides for ages. So to ensure that he learns, adapts non-chemical farming is a challenge. Similarly for processing, similarly in our factories, similarly to get the certifications, similarly most important to get the colors, zero preservative, no artificial colors. But having done that, having gone through, we put money behind it. But then what we have done, we have come out with a product which is not say 100 rupees a glass. We have come out with a product which is still 5 rupees a glass, which the common man can have. And that technology we are given to the farmer free, and that technology the farmer is using not only to give me, he's open to give it to anybody else, and he's going to make more money from organic than he's making from his regular crop. And that is the advantage of technology. I make a little money, but everybody down the chain makes money, and everybody is happy.
Yes, I can hear you.
Of course, this is the future. So I am happy because if not now 10 years, I will make my money.
Yeah,
so this
sure.
is one idea. Second, in the pandemic, our foundations tried to give virtual
Okay,
health
thanks.
care. How? through using internet, ensuring that people were at home, they were confused. In fact, half the people were dying not because of COVID, because of the confusion of COVID, because not knowing what it is, or because of the fear of COVID, including me. So the doctor comes and calls and says, no, fine, this is what you are okay, and you can gargle in something and you are okay, is really good. Right now you think it's so simple, but that is. A doctor coming and giving you that assurance was good enough. So we tried to have some calls like this. We made our own app, My Doctor Expert, during those times. And we use it not for making money, but for ensuring that this technology is used for the poor people. So this is the second example. Coming to it, Chris asked me, give us one big idea. In my mind, there are a lot of funds. I meet a lot of people with funds. I invest in funds. And these funds also invest in startups. They invest in innovative companies. But none of the funds actually owns the technology and the patent. So many times the startups, they take my money and they hold the technology and their technology becomes good. But then the cost of technology is so high that the common never gets the benefit of it. So my simple idea is if all governments, companies, we can all come with a fund which owns the technology. Imagine that if the vaccine was made by a company where the fund was owning the technology, and this vaccine technology the fund would have given on a licensing platform at almost equitable or zero cost across the world, vaccines would have fastly reached the world. Similarly, this technology fund can own technology for agriculture, where I talked of example, or any other sector. It can go on, I don't want to speak so much long, but if we can have such a fund, and we would also as investors be benefited, because long time it will give us money, and it will give us two types of money. One is return on capital, and also we will feel happy that we are part of solving the problems of the world through technology, because only technology can solve the problems of the world, and most important, reduce this difference between the haves and have-nots by using this technology. That's all what I can say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Piruz. Next, we're going to have Lorena Rivera-Leon, who is joining us virtually. Lorena, due to the delay in all the sessions, we have 4 minutes only for making your remarks. And I suggest that you focus on 1 or 2 ideas. Thank you. Over to you.
Thanks, Chairman. Good morning from Geneva. It is a pleasure to address the B20 Inception meeting. Thank you in particular to CII for inviting the World Intellectual Property Organization to take part in this discussion. India is taking charge of the G20 at a critical moment. The world is grappling with an economic slowdown. Against this backdrop, continuous support for innovation is essential. Innovation drives human progress, it spurs business productivity, and it gives rise to new products and services that can help to build a better, more inclusive future for us all. In a year when the world is looking to India for leadership and action, you have a powerful innovation story to tell. Each year, WIPO ranks the innovation performance of over 130 economies through the Global Innovation Index. India's improvement in recent years has been spectacular. From 81st position in 2015, you rose to 40th last year. This progress is the result of a clear strategic focus on public-private cooperation. In recent years, government and industry have come together to renew and revitalize innovation-driven growth. You all know today India boasts the 3rd largest startup ecosystem in the world. It's also now home to more than 100 unicorns. But zoom out and the global innovation environment is a bit more mixed. On one hand, innovation investments rose even during the height of the pandemic. The world's top R&D spenders increased their outlay by almost 10% in 2021. And on the other hand, key innovation metrics have begun to cool. So take venture capital investment. After a record-breaking 2021, global VC activity slowed in 2022, even if the total amount of deals and dollars investment remain above pre-pandemic levels. So let's move to the specific ideas. What steps can we take to ensure that intellectual property and innovation continue to drive inclusive impact? One priority area, in my view, is demystifying intellectual property so that it works for everyone. At WIPO, we are working to deliver a new vision of IP, where IP is not only a technical legal right, but a powerful catalyst for jobs, investments, business growth, and ultimately social and economic development. Alongside the importance of IP protection, it is critical that we encourage more companies, especially SMEs, to bring their ideas to life by embarking on IP commercialization. As a key global business engagement forum, the B20 can help to amplify the importance of this message at a critical time for the global economy. The second area of potential cooperation surrounds IP finance. For many firms of all sizes, intangible assets are now their most valuable assets. Despite this, there is still widespread uncertainty across financial systems on how to value and collateralize intangible assets. This uncertainty acts as a brake on investment and business growth. To help chart the path forward, we had our first high-level conversation on unlocking IP finance last November, and we would welcome input from the B20 in this area. And finally, one last idea to conclude, to truly achieve inclusive impact, innovation ecosystems must themselves become more diverse. And this involves strengthening the participation of key groups, such as, for example, women and youth. Deeper engagement is a fundamental component of resilient innovation ecosystems, and this is why at WIPO this year's World Intellectual Property Day on April 26 will focus on closing the gender gap in IP. We would be pleased to link these activities to the broader thematic work of the B20. So let me conclude there, and I look forward to another ideas as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorena, and again, being ahead of time. Now, last but not least, we have Rohan Ganapathy, and why I said last but not least is he represents the future for us. So, Rohan, your remarks.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be part of this esteemed panel. In fact, if you see, they are achievers in their own fields. So it's a very humbling experience for me. I'm going to be talking about space industry, and I would like to thank the organizers for including space in the subject. And of course, India has the fourth biggest space agency in the world, but how can space, be used for sustainability, and how can space be used for scale? How can space technology be used for touching the lives of countries, G20 countries and beyond? So I would like to just start by telling that there's this dogma in our head that space is so expensive, so let us just limit it to governments, and it's not something that a private industry can take up. Another way of putting it is, gold is available underneath the ocean, but why don't you mine it? Because the cost of mining is more than the value of gold. It makes sense. But now, 21st century innovations, what we see today, are driven by sustainability. So we are looking innovation from a different perspective, where there is already sustainability and cost effectiveness brought into the mind. So when we look at space technology, internet for everyone, when it can access the remotest part of the world, it's not just that, but if you want to access, say, some remote corner in India, it's very expensive say if you're beaming something from space, because you have to set up the ground infrastructure to deliver all these things to you. But from India, what we can offer, or what we have proved, is even cutting down the cost of ground infrastructure requirement so that we can touch the lives. So, recently, India, we have, I think, as the minister explained, we have brought lights to homes which previously didn't have electricity. So now it's time to bring internet and get them connected as well. And when we talk about climate change and climate action, it's the only, Earth is the only place we have, ladies and gentlemen. But if you see from this perspective, if you just see Earth from outer space, it's just a pale blue dot. In that dot, 8 billion of us survive, right? And the resources are just finite. It's not infinite. So as we speak, we are working with L&T to develop technologies which you can manufacture in orbit. Fusion technology is taking shape. Where will you get the fuel required for fusion? It's on the moon. So why don't we see it like it's reality and it's happening? And we start mining on the moon, for example, to keep our planet as green as possible, make resource utilization in space much more affordable, and this can only happen through collaboration. And from space, you can't define borders when you see Earth. So space is a global industry, and with G20 and B20 here, it's also a good topic to have and deliberate to see how we all can come together as one human civilization and take care of our planet by using space tech. And I would like to conclude by telling one earth, one family, one future, but space is a big enabler in that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rohan. In all the panelists, one common theme I took away was, creating a enabling environment across the G20 countries, a global environment, virtual lab framework, a solution on a platform for construction, global platform for entrepreneurship, global network of academic institutions, SME 360 tools. So there is one common theme, that's coming, and each panelist has put forward an idea, circular economy, intelligent transport systems, and how Moscow is using technology for government services, how we can speed up construction, how we can look at better collaboration between global academic institutions, green data centers, biomaterials, bioenergy, reduce disparity, create a virtual fund, demystifying innovation, and how we can improve IP commercialization, IP finance, etc., bring diversity, and the last, how to use space for bringing us together. So we will take forward these into the task force. This is the inception meeting. These ideas we will take forward into our task force. The task force is meeting tomorrow. In fact, if any one of you actually want to contribute, you can send us an email with your idea, and we will collate these ideas, and this becomes the zero draft for the task force. From that, we will deliberate to come out with a few ideas that we will then propose to the G20 countries. So I want to thank all the panelists. They were fantastic. They stuck to the script in proposing just one idea, and more importantly, stuck to the time. We were given 45 minutes. I think we're just about 45 minutes at this point. Thank you all for being patient enough to listen to all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, moderator, sir, and also all the speakers of the day. I request you to kindly step forward for a group photograph. And for the rest of the crowd here, we have got the food for our mind. Now we need food for our tummy. So we will quickly go, take a bite, everything, and then come back in a half an hour's time. That is 3:15. Thank you, and sorry for being a little late, but it was important. Thank you. I request everyone to kindly take up the route from the left-hand side, from the right-hand side of the stage for the lunch area. It is exhibition hall number 3. I request you to proceed over there. Thank you.